The jungle had never known peace, but for 3 sunrises following the catastrophic battle of the Broken Root. A fragile, trembling silence had fallen over the great river that split the forest floor. The red ant colonies, nestled beneath the shelter of a colossal fig tree, had licked its wounds. Thousands of their finest soldiers lay crushed beneath pebbles or washed away in the flash flood triggered by the black ants. Betrayal. On the opposite bank, the Black Ant Legions, a sprawling metropolis of carved mud and stolen resin, counted its own heavy losses. The river, once a mere boundary, had become a graveyard. Commander Scoria, a massive red ant with mandibles scarred by 100 skirmishes, stood atop a sentinel fern. His compound eyes, fractured into thousands of lenses, scanned the far shore. He saw them, the black ants, not just the common soldiers, but the engineers. For days, they had been dragging something from the depths of a collapsed termite mound. Something large, something that gleamed with the dark, oily sheen of fossilized sap. They are building a weapons, whispered tactician Miam, a smaller, faster red ant clinging to Scoria's flank. Her antennae twitched, reading the chemical signatures carried on the humid breeze. The vibrations are wrong. Not for digging, for launching. Scoria clicked his mandibles in frustration. The river was their only defense. It was wide and vast, and filled with the shadows of water striders and diving beetles monsters that would swallow any anthole. But if the black ants could throw something across it, the answer came at midday. A sound like a snapping tree trunk echoed across the jungle. From the black ant shore, a dark shape rocketed into the air, trailing a thread of silk. It arced high over the rivers, spinning end over end, and crashed into the red ants. Forward trench. It was a seed pod, a hard, spiked capsule from a mahogany tree, but hollowed out and packed with shards of flint and angry, stinging chromatogaster ants, captured and enslaved. The pod exploded on impact, spraying shrapnel and venomous bodies in every direction. A dozen Red Scouts died instantly, their exoskeletons pierced. The cannon fire had begun. Scoria dug from the fern as a second pod whistled overhead, smashing their primary food storage cache into a ruin of fungus and despair. The black ants had done the unthinkable. They had constructed a torsion to catapult a cannon powered by twisted, living vines and the elastic recoil of harvested beetle tendon. And they were aiming it not at soldiers, but at the very infrastructure of the Red Colony. The River of Fire. Part 2 of the Ant War would not be fought with claws and acid alone. It would be an artillery duel. Scoria rallied his surviving captains. We have no cannons, so we must become the shot. While black ant engineers cranked their catapult for a third volley, Scoria launched Operation River Fang. 400 red ants, the fastest runners. The strongest biters marched not to the river's edge, but upstream, hidden beneath floating lily pads. They crossed at a narrow, roaring rapid where the black ants had no watchtowers. The current was treacherous. Dozens were swept away into the maw of a lurking giant water bug, their silent screams lost in the whitewater. But 312 reached the far bank. They emerged from the shallows like a rust-colored tide, directly behind the black ant cannon emplacement. The battle that erupted was primal. Scoria himself tore into the first engineer, his serrated mandibles shearing through its jointed neck. The red ants fell upon the catapult crew, spraying formic acid into their multifaceted eyes. But the black ants were not fools. A reserve legion, 2,000 strong, had been waiting in the shadows of a rotting log. They countercharged with a viciousness that spoke of a queen who demanded absolute victory. The cannon fell silent, but now the riverbank became a slaughterhouse. Red against black, mandible against mandible. Legs were ripped from sockets, heads rolled into the water. The chemical stench of alarm pheromones became a fog so thick that ants could no longer see, only smell death. It was then that Scoria realized the trap. The black ant queen had never intended to win with the cannon alone. She had used it as bait, while the Reds rushed to destroy the weapon. A second, hidden force of black ants had crossed the river downstream. Using a bridge of woven grass they had prepared over 3 nights, they were now pouring into the undefended red colony. "They are at the nursery," screamed a fleeing red nurse, her legs broken. "The Queen." "They are marching on the Queen's chamber." Scoria had a choice: destroy the cannon and return to a dead colony, or turn back now, leaving the weapon intact, and save his queen. He let out a roar, a high-frequency stridulation that vibrated through the soil and signaled the retreat. The red ants broke contact, fleeing back across the treacherous lily pads. Half were cut down from behind. The black ants did not pursue. They had what they wanted: a path to victory. The last stand of the Queen's chamber. The red colony was a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, carved over a decade. Now it was a warren of screams. Black ants had infiltrated through a collapsed root shaft, bypassing every major defensive wall. They were systematic killing larvae, poisoning food stores, and spreading their own Queen's pheromone to confuse the defenders. Deep in the heart of the colony, Queen Rubra bloated, ancient engine of egg laying waited with her final honor guard. Around her, 500 red ants, the oldest and most loyal veterans, formed a living shield. They were outnumbered 3 to 1. Scoria arrived at the entrance to the Queen's chamber just as the first wave of black ants reached the final tunnel. He was exhausted, his antennae half torn, one leg dragging uselessly, but he stood before the archway and did not move. "You are a stubborn insect," clicked a voice from the darkness. General Onyx, the black ant commander, stepped forward. He was a monster twice the size of a normal ant, his carapace a polished jet, his mandibles lined with serrations that dripped with a neurotoxin. "Your queen will become a slave. Your eggs will feed our larvae. Surrender, and you will be the last to die." Scoria answered by spitting a glob of acid directly into Onyx's left eye. The final battle was not a battle. It was a grinding, inch-by-inch butchery. Scoria's veterans fought like demons, forming rotating phalanxes that would step forward, kill, fall back, and let the next rank advance. They used the geometry of the chamber stalactites of hardened clay, the curved walls to funnel the black ants into kill zones. For every red that died, 3 blacks fell, but numbers told. The honor guard shrank. 400, 200, 100. Scoria found himself back-to-back with tactician Miam, who had fought her way through the chaos to stand with him. Her mandibles were chipped, and she was missing 3 legs, but she still clicked tactical reports. "The nursery sack is breached. Food stores are gone. But the queen has laid one final egg. A royal egg. If we can get it out, the colony survives." Outside, the black ants had brought their captured cannon to the red colony's main entrance. They were aiming it directly at the Queen's chamber. Onyx gave the order. The cannon fired a seed pod not packed with shrapnel this time, but with a concentrated slurry of acetobacter bacteria, a biological weapon that would rot the chamber from within. The pod struck the ceiling and burst, raining acidic sludge. The clay walls began to bubble. The floor grew slick and poisonous. Scoria made a choice that would become legend in the jungle for 100 seasons. He did not charge. He did not surrender. He turned to Miam and whispered a single command. "Take the egg." The southern escape tunnel. Run and do not stop. "But you, I will give you 2 minutes." Miam hesitated. Then she grabbed the single, shimmering royal egg from beneath the dying Queen Rubra, who had already stopped moving and disappeared into a crack no larger than a seed. Scoria turned to face the remaining black ants.
The black ants
There were
advance.
over 1,000 of them now,
I sense
filling
them.
the chamber.
The colony is ready.
Their
Good.
antennae
Signal the
waving in
swarm.
triumph.
We strike at dawn.
General Onyx clicked a laugh. "Your colony is dead." "Red." Scoria raised his head. He looked at the cracked ceiling, the weeping walls, the river of rot spreading toward his feet. He thought of the jungle above the sun filtering through leaves, the taste of aphid honey, the simple rhythm of ant life. Then he struck the wall beside him with all his remaining strength. He struck the same spot 3 times, exactly where a hairline fracture had been growing for a decade, the one caused by the roots of the fig tree. The ceiling collapsed, not a little, completely. 100 tons of wet clay, tangled roots, and ancient stone fell into the Queen's chamber. Scoria was buried instantly, his body crushed beneath the weight of his own home. But so were General Onyx and 900 of the Black Ants. Vinest, the tunnel to the surface was sealed. The biological weapon was contained. And somewhere, crawling through a forgotten escape shaft, tactician Miam carried the future in her mandibles. The new dawns. 3 weeks later, a single red ant emerged from a crack in the jungle floor, far downstream from the ruins of the old colony. She was ragged, half-starved, and carrying a single, pulsating egg on her back. Miam found a hollow beneath a mushroom capitini, insignificant patch of damp earth. She laid the egg. She fed it her own regurgitated food. She guarded it with a ferocity that bordered on madness. The egg hatched. A female, a new queen. Miam named her Scoria's daughter. And on the far side of the river, the Black Ants celebrated a hollow victory. They had destroyed the Red Colony. They had killed their ancient enemy. But they had lost their finest general, their most devastating cannon, and almost half their army in the collapse. Their own queen was old, her eggs growing weaker with each passing season. The jungle did not mourn. The jungle waited, because somewhere beneath the roots, hidden in the dark, the red ants had not vanished. They had changed. Miam could feel it, a new vibration in the soil, a new scent on the wind. The Black Ants had won the battle, but Scoria's sacrifice had bought something more precious than victory. It had bought time, and time, in the world of ants, is the deadliest weapon of all. End of part 2.